Hello everyone and welcome back. Today we shall be proceeding from where the first part left off. You're in for a fun ride. Now let's dive in, shall we? The next chapter gives us a perspective from Taehan's side of the story, the morning of the same day where we last seen Dan-woo. He is at home and after his morning shower he receives some text messages from the booty call partner of the previous night. The texts show eagerness from the sender to meet again since they had a blast of fun together, but Taehan nonchalantly just blocks the guy's number. While he is blow drying his hair, he can't help himself but think of Dan-woo, wondering if he gets his flag up when he washes or dries his own hair. The unusual thought makes him giggle, reminding himself it's been ages since he laughed so much, cause he gets bored easily. We are given a crash course of Taehan's past for context. He chose the hairstylist career instead of the family business simply because it felt more fun, but lost interest in it pretty quickly. He had fun in the beginning, but when he started styling for a friend's idols group, things changed. Eventually, the group disbanded too, with only one of the members finding success in acting. Taehan then closed the hair salon temporarily and went to stay at his sister's place. What was supposed to be just a break became over a year of doing nothing, just plain laziness. He then opened a small salon to get rid of his sister's pestering, but it got boring pretty fast as well. The day Dan-woo first went at the hair salon was like any other day. Taehan closed the booking system as usual and spent his time browsing the internet bored to the bone. Apparently, Taehan was too lazy to lock the door. Therefore, Dan-woo just entered even without an appointment. Even if he was annoyed by the turn of events, his urge to fix Dan-woo's messy hair took over, and since Dan-woo was cute, he enjoyed styling him. But what he enjoyed even more was the reactions of Dan-woo's body at his every touch, and the desperate expression he made in his attempts of suppressing his rods uprising. Well, yeah, we all remember how that went. Even the style and dash situation was hilarious to Tehan, therefore he didn't report our scrawny guy. The next day, when Daru went to pay and return the gown, he was pleasantly surprised to see him, but resigned, concluding that he will not see him again due to the embarrassment of our protagonist. The gun stuck in hair mishap proved him wrong, and the way that evening improv helping hand situation developed got his fancy tickled towards our introvert guy. His curiosity is intrigued about finding more sensitive spots on Darnwoo's body other than his hair. Back to the present, Tehan slumps on his couch, bored by his mundane daily life, and eager to meet Danwoo again. He decides to go for a walk to change scenery, innerly hoping to randomly run into our protagonist. And the Sky Daddy answered his prayers. Just as he was thinking how fun it would be to run into our Dan-woo, by chance he spots a weird guy peeping comically into a store from the door. Of course, it's Hong Dan-woo. With a giggle, he approaches him, startling our introvert as per usual. During the greeting pleasantries, he requests for Dan-woo to call him by his name instead of Sir. Still, our shy protagonist has difficulty looking him in the eyes, considering the events from 2 days ago. The helping hand, lightsaber polishing situation to refresh our timeline memories. With the initial meet and greet chat out of the way, Taehan pushes our protagonist into the store, intending to assist him during his clothes shopping session. The shop is a pricey one with fancy items on display. The stylist inquiries if wearing hats cause the same reaction in Danwoo, since it's somewhat hair-related, but gives up on the idea of making him try out various hats when the answer he receives is, I can manage that much. He makes him try out an outfit, but Danwoo reluctantly agrees, since the clothes are above his shopping budget. After carefully dressing himself, he presents his new look to Tehan and the shop lady, earning plenty compliments from both, since he looks great. Tehan takes it one step further, intentionally touching Danwoo's hair with the excuse of showing him what hairstyle would better suit that outfit. Of course, all that hair touching gets our guy's reactions triggered. But since Taehan is sly as usual, Danwoo doesn't think it was on purpose. After pondering the situation, he concludes it's only his own fault due to his particular hair sensitivity. Taehan gives him another outfit to try on, and as he does just that in the changing cubicle, he is relieved that his body didn't have a big reaction to the stylist's hair touching. That is until he has to try the pants on and notices a protruding bulge on his lower body half. Tehan from outside the cubicle asks why is he taking so long to get into the new outfit and opens the door before Danwoo has time to lock it. No glasses are needed for the stylist to notice the issue in this situation. So he joins Danwoo in the cubicle, placing his grubby hand on the pitching tent of his pants. He selflessly offers a helping hand, just like the last time, but Danwoo refuses, intending to take care of the situation on his own. Embarrassed, he faces the wall, proceeding to do the snake taming activity, yet few seconds after, Taehan is looming over his shoulder. I guess he doesn't like feeling excluded from snake taming? He decides to somewhat participate by searching and tuning into various radio station broadcasts using the two buttons placed in the chest area. While inviting Darwood not to stop the beast taming program he was previously attending to. Noticing Darwood has also high sensitivity in his radio buttons, he goes for more hair touching to speed things up. As Darwood gets closer to the end result, he feels a bump poking at his behind. I guess the surprise of that bump is what was needed, since finally the dam opens and white fluid bursts out. Problem is, now Taehan is the one with an issue to take care of, so they need to address the second snake in the room. Due to the circumstance and using some fast thinking, the stylist opts to make use of our protagonist's thigh gap, using one hand to cover Danwoo's mouth to prevent noises from escaping, and the other hand to polish both their swords at the same time. Some fapping noises and a bitten finger later, both lightsabers leak protein juice. Danwoo slumps, partially clothed, and an overall mess. Yet Taehan is as composed as ever, whilst wiping his hands clean on the shirt Danwoo was trying out. Noticing the dirty mess that became of the store's clothes, with all the protein smeared everywhere, Danwoo panics. Yet Taehan takes the tags off, presenting those to the counter to pay for the clothes. They leave the mall and Taehan hands our protagonist the newly bought clothes. The latter has no choice but accept them, since the size wouldn't fit the stylist anyway. I wonder if the gift is the clothes or the DNA on them. Yet Danwoo is thankfully blushing profusely. Taehan inquires when they will meet again. After receiving confirmation that it will be soon, they say their goodbyes and Danwoo gets in the cab the other called for him. As the cab leaves, Danwoo is super embarrassed and blushing for how the day turned out. The next chapter takes us some days later. A random morning, Danwoo wakes up with his hair messy and overgrown, realizing it's due for another visit to the hair salon, yet he is not mentally ready for it. At his workplace, his colleagues all notice how fast his hair grows. While he takes a break from work on a bench outside, Wuri approaches him. He noticed that our protagonist has been deep in thought the whole day, so he asks about his well-being. Maybe he finds comfort if he talks about his troubles with someone, so he offers a listening ear. Dan Wu shares his thoughts and talks about his anxiety when it comes to going to the hair salon. Also, he doesn't have much other option if he wants to look neat, due to his hair growth speed. His own personal catch-22, if you will. Strangely enough, my simping subject, Woody, has a similar issue with hair salons. They are not on his favorite places list. He shows a picture of himself as a kid with a huge messy curly hair situation going on, which everyone bullied him for. Therefore, he used to deal with hair salons a lot for straightening. He hated it and still does. he gave up on styling and just goes for trims nowadays, owning it as his own way of styling. We love a confident king in this house. Yes, we do. After such comforting words, Uri presents a solution to Danwoo's worries: a hairband. He invites the latter to try it, but our clumsy fella manages to make things messy even in this case. Uri offers his assistance to place the hairband on, so Danwoo, in a praying pose, prepares himself mentally. That confuses my handsome Uri, and he gets flustered during the process, displaying some shades of red on his face to our enjoyment. And yes, I just claimed him. Deal with it. By the time the hairband is on Danwoo's noggin, Uri is blushing more than our trembling protagonist, and that reaction makes Danwoo think he looks bad with it on. Uri, in his confusionary slash panicky state, remembers that the hairband might be smelly and attempts to take it off our protagonist's head. And our guy instinctively reacts, smacking his hands away, and awkwardness makes itself at home in that moment. Danwoo tries to apologize for his overreaction, yet Woody is called in the restaurant to get back to work. The workday gets busy, so the awkwardness is still heavy in the air when it comes to our two dudes, resulting in Danwoo being disheartened as if it was a breakup. At closing time, more awkward scenes are displayed, basically becoming an avoidance situation on Danwoo's part. His way out of the self-pity rabbit hole is deciding to book an appointment for the next day at the hair salon using Taehan's personal number. He gets confirmation response swiftly. The next scene takes us to the moment when Danwoo is standing outside the hair salon, gathering courage to enter. At that time, Taehan swings the door open, inviting our protagonist in. Startled, our guy desperately asks for the stylist's help in overcoming his hair sensitivity. Cheeky Taehan asks what's in it for him out of this potential deal, to which Danwoo starts blabbering about money compensation, trying to establish the worth of Taehan's assistance with the delicate matter at hand. However, the foxy man passes the whole compensation convo as a joke, stating his willingness to help with the issue, free of charge. After all, he's not busy with work and always pursues fun situations. The approach to the hair sensitivity they shall try is to find other sensitive spots on Danwoo's body, hoping that those newly found areas will take the spot of the hair situation on the ranking list. Even though confused by the logic of the solution, Danwoo reluctantly agrees. The first example Taehan brings to solidify his case is the radio station searching buttons on Danwoo's torso. Pinching them buttons does get the party started in Danwoo's reactions, which brings determination in the latter. The scene then shows us a disheveled Danwoo sitting in the chair after Taehan had finished giving him a haircut. His body reacted as it usually does when his hair is touched, and Danwoo can't help but feel disappointed, since no kinky actions were taken by Taehan yet. The untamed snake has been completely ignored so far. Taehan then invites our guy to kneel in front of him whilst he sits on his chair behind the desk. Our naive protagonist is confused by such request, yet he does as obliged. Utter surprise hits him when in front of his eyes, Taehan's wild beast is uncaged, with the intent of exploring the vocal orifice. Chills go down Danwoo's spine at such turn of events, and after a little explanatory context on Taehan's part, our guy decides to give it a try. He can't avoid but notice that the stylist has a gorgeous Santa's candy cane in his possession, and after a little trial and error, he manages to get a taste of it. Some instructions on how to proceed are given by Taehan, followed by images that I cannot display on YouTube. In the middle of the process, Danwoo apparently chokes on the candy cane. Guess size does matter sometimes. When Taehan accompanies the moment with playful touches of Danwoo's hair, they get back to business, and our guy develops a sweet tooth, enjoying the activity so much that he decides to be like Napoleon and do more things at a time, adding taming his own snake to the mix. They managed to get things done. Candy was devoured, Snake was tamed, everything was subdued. They decide to make the agreement work for both parties after a little funny and playful conversation that confirms both of them enjoyed the previous activity. The following chapter opens with Danwoo having a corn dog during his lunch break at work. While he is deep in thought regarding the last meeting with the stylist, he can't prevent himself from thinking of the candy cane while munching on the corn dog. Of course, that gets him flustered with embarrassment. He then spots Wuri and remembers the need to apologize for the awkwardness of the day before related to the hairband incident. At that time, the restaurant boss lady asks him to have a private conversation, which revolves around work and ends with her giving him a promotion if he's interested. He would have to serve in the dining area, not work in the kitchen anymore. His newly found good looks would be beneficial to the restaurant's income, basically, would attract more customers if he were to serve the tables. The promotion would also include a substantial raise on his pay, and so the boss lady asks him to consider it, and to talk with Woody for confirmation of her words. After the talk with the boss lady, he ponders on what to do and how, since he's shy by nature and would not fit well with the social interactions part of the job. As he absent-mindedly walks down the stairs, he trips and bumps right into Woody, whom offers to listen to what made him so thoughtful. In his typical awkward way, Danwoo blurts out an invite to meet after work. But the wording and the loudness of such invite came off as asking for a date, to which the other staff members jokingly urge Woody to answer. Danwoo goes back to work, and the shocked, tomato-red Woody is left behind just standing still. After the restaurant closes for the day and the staff leaves, our two guys go to a cafe, uncomfortable vibe still in the air. Danwoo breaks the ice by giving back the famous hairband, following with an overly detailed apology, and the hope they can still be friends. The honesty and pretty expression on Danwoo's face makes Woody's heart skip a beat, and sent him in a flushing spiral of confusion. As they enjoy the cafe's delicacies, they discuss the new promotion offer Danwoo received. Woody saw it coming after our protagonists upgrade in appearance and confirms the boss's statement and work ethics. He also offers encouraging words, to which Danwoo is very touched, and Woody's heart overreacts again at Danwoo's display of gratitude. The talk then shifts to haircuts related matters, ending with Woody intending to go to the same hair salon Danwoo also does. Some days later, we get to see Danwoo accepted the promotion. As he's working the dining hall, he's still nervous while doing his part, but compared to his first day, he made a lot of progress, as the staff members point out. When closing time arrives, in the changing area, some staff members have a playful banter, while Woody and Danwoo discuss the details of their meetup for tomorrow. They shall go to the hair salon together, then have dinner afterwards. As they change from the job attire, Woody gets flustered, accidentally taking a look at Danwoo's bare torso. Unaware, Danwoo is just happy because tomorrow he gets to have a normal experience, an outing with a friend. Tomorrow comes, and as they meet, it just so happens they are wearing the same sweatshirt. Woody ain't very happy with the coincidence, considering the implication it would bring in other people's perceptions. While they walk towards their destination, Woody ponders on what measures he could take to prevent misunderstandings. At the same time, Danwoo's thoughts are full of happiness, his outfit matching with a friend. They reach the hair salon, and Taehan, the stylist, is not very pleased with the unexpected +1. Danwoo had not considered to book an appointment for the extra visitor. After clearing the air and giving recommendations of receiving a heads up if similar situations are to arise in the future, Taehan accepts the newcomer. Though it's a pity he and Danwoo can't have their lessons with other people in the premises. Even more weirder it gets once he notices the matching shirts. Our ignorant protagonist finally sees the light. Wearing matching outfits makes them look like a couple. In a panic, he tries to explain it was by accident. yet Wuri notices the displeased expression on the stylist's face and instinctively blurts out, "We're matching as a couple," pulling Dan-woo closer to him as both start to blush. Thinking now Taehan sees him as a promiscuous fella, Dan-woo panics even more, asking why would Wuri make such statements. Yet he calms down when Wuri declares it was just a joke. Once the antics are over with, Taehan makes Wuri take a seat for the incoming haircut. It doesn't take long for Wuri to realize Taehan is being rough with him on purpose, whilst performing the preparation and trim itself. Dan-woo is impressed by the professional demeanor Taehan has and the speed of completing his work. In a matter of minutes, Wuri's haircut was finished, and the two friends are happy with the result. Then it comes Dan-woo's turn. Seeing our protagonist's anxiousness, Wuri offers to go for a walk in the meanwhile, but our sly fox of a stylist convinces the introvert to try seeing how he handles himself in the presence of his friend. Call it training of the day. And so, with tension filling the room, they proceed. Taehan is a little more considerate than usual, yet still our guy gets a bit worked up. All this happening in front of a flustered and invested Wuri. A short while later, they prepare to leave the hair salon. After cold farewells from Taehan towards Wuri and a small private conversation between the stylist and our protagonist. The private talk started with apologies from Dan-woo and inquiries from Taehan about his taste in clothes since he's now wearing the ones gifted to him. Taehan is determined to see Dan-woo wearing those clothes, so he asks him for a date as hair sensitivity training in an outdoors scenario. Even if taken aback at the word date, Dan-woo agrees. Then the two friends go to have their meal together as decided upon the previous day. Wuri gives one last glare towards Taehan before leaving the premises, his arm around Dan-woo's shoulders, as if to spite the stylist. It does not go unnoticed by Taehan. The next day, Dan-woo can be seen preparing the outfit in anticipation of the date day. He decides to buy shoes to go with the clothes, so he gets engulfed in internet browsing through the online shops. He is so lost in it that even during a boss and staff meeting at work, he is absent-mindedly on his phone. The boss lady calls him out, and the other staff members have a laugh at his expense. Apparently, this evening during dinner time, the restaurant is exclusively booked by a film crew, so the boss lady encourages everyone to give it their best effort. While changing into their work attire, Wuri notices Dan-woo is still surfing the net on his phone, so our protagonist leans in close to ask for his advice on various shoes designs. Wuri gets crimson red by such intimate closeness, and his heart overreacts as on cue. The guy that in the past ended up getting gum stuck in Dan-woo's hair butts in the conversation giving his opinion, but manages to cause a head bump between our two friends. Wuri gets even more flustered by the mishap and closeness with Dan-woo, and he takes a step back to feel more at ease. The new fella inquires if the shoe shopping is perhaps related to an upcoming date. And since Dan-woo dodges the question by invoking lateness to work and rushing out of the changing room, Buddy concludes he hit the nail on the head. Wuri's worry peeks its head at such words. Evening arrives and the film crew makes its appearance. Amongst the celebrities there is Bae Yeon-woo, just as handsome as ever. Even if Dan-woo intends to avoid him, he ends up serving precisely his table. He hopes he's not gonna get recognized by Yeon-woo from that brief encounter at the hair salon when he witnessed the kiss between him and Taehan. He can't help but wonder if the two involved in the kiss are secretly boyfriend and boyfriend. Distracted by these thoughts, Dan-woo almost burns the meat he was serving, which gets him noticed by the actor. The evening goes by and as closing time sets in, the movie crew have mostly left, leaving a lot of dishes to clean for the restaurant staff. Dan-woo goes to the bathroom to fresh up and catch his breath after such a busy workday, and there he is joined by exactly the actor, demanding for a talk. Yeon-woo is not happy with the explanation Dan-woo offers, Not believing him to be just a customer at Taehan's salon. He demands to know how he seduced Taehan, treating them with unnecessary roughness. Woody banging at the locked door interrupts them, so the actor gets annoyed and shoves our protagonist into a stall and leaves the bathroom, displaying courtesy towards Woody. Once he left, my simping subject discovers a ruffled Dan-woo in the restroom, puts two and two together, and angrily searches for Bae Yeon-woo. The actor is already gone, so they get back to cleaning up after the celebrity's dinner. The morning after arrives, and we see a sleep-deprived Dan-woo complaining to himself about spending the night overthinking about the planned date with Taehan. After his shower, he spends a lot of time styling his hair following a tutorial he found online. He goes to the meeting spot agreed upon, dressed as by Tehan's request, with the clothes he gifted him. He is overly self-conscious, fidgeting as he waits for Tehan to arrive, yet all the passerbys don't give him any mind. Tehan arrives and invites our protagonist to get in the car, reminding him to call him by his name, not Sir. Dan-woo is mesmerized by how good Tehan looks while driving, comparing him to a work of art. They arrive at their destination, and after parking the car, Taehan leans in towards Dan-woo. Our guy gets flustered and confused, getting into a kissing pose by reflex. Yet the stylist was just trying to grab the hair straightener from the passenger seat compartment. Turns out Dan-woo missed styling a hair strand when he followed the tutorial. Taehan fixes it swiftly, and they get to the fancy restaurant to have lunch. Our introvert is happy he gets to spend time with a fancy guy at a fancy place, yet can't help but be disappointed he received no remarks about wearing the gifted clothes from the guy that gifted them. They have a pleasant meal and random chit-chat, while many other customers' whispers about Taehan's handsomeness make our protagonist feel anxious. Once they finish devouring the food, the stylist requests for Dan-woo to sit beside him whilst having coffee. He finally compliments Dan-woo for looking nice dressed like this, then does the same about his hairstyle, whilst playfully teasing him with caresses on his hair. The sly fox wonders if it was Woody that did his hair, referring to him as a boyfriend of our protagonist. He teases him some more by touching his sensitive hair, causing our guy to become a trembling mess and gathering glances from the other customers in the restaurant. It is clear that Taehan does it on purpose to pat his head, as out of spite, since he assumes it was Woody who styled Dan-woo's hair for the meetup. Things get harder by the second for Dan-woo to endure, till he confesses he followed the tutorial and did the styling himself. At this point, he is already pitching a tent, and Taehan is amused at how things developed. He gives his jacket to Dan-woo so he can cover up the swollen area and get out of the restaurant with no shame, while he pays for the bill. The author gives us a glimpse of why the other customers were whispering and glancing at them. The ladies were off-put by the patting the head gesture, considering it one of the worst things a person could do, even if the person doing it is a handsome one. I personally agree, it is indeed off-putting. The next chapter shows us a flustered Dan-woo waiting in Taehan's car for his exit from the restaurant. Distracted with the thoughts of his unwavering flag, he gets startled when the stylist enters the vehicle. Nonchalantly, he asks for our guy's address to take him home, and Dan-woo complies, even if he wants the meeting to get some activity involved, not just lunch, if you catch my drift. When our introvert expresses his desire to do some self-sword polishing, Taehan is very amused by our guy's lack of patience. He teases him a bit more with hair touching, but then Woo's extreme reactions tickles his fancy and changes route, going towards an isolated forest-like area. Once parked amongst bushes and trees, he reaches towards the passenger's compartment again and pulls out a bottle of body gel. He places Dan-woo above him on his same seat, facing each other, stating he was planning to have such activities once they reached our protagonist's house. He suggests for today's training to focus on the area that typically works for most people. Specifically for men, according to his experience, the area is the one behind, on the lower body half. Let's call it the mystery cave so that YouTube doesn't come for my neck. Danwoo agrees to give clearance for cave exploration in such uncharted territory where no man has set foot, well, fingers, before. As it usually goes when trying new things, the first of the five arm extremities has to create a path for the other ones to follow. So, in order for Danwoo to be more relaxed and in receptive mode, Taehan goes in for a tight hug, which seems to trigger Danwoo's eagerness to try again. There is still much to happen in this BL comedy romance manhwa, but for now, this is where the segment ends. If you enjoyed my recap, my attempt at censored coded commentary, plus unrequested shameless simping, please consider subscribing, like, share, and comment. You know the drill. It helps a lot and would be very appreciated. Also, let me know if you are interested in a continuation. In the meanwhile, I wish you all a great day. See you on the next one. Thanks for watching.